Hello, fellow Riblets. It's me, Tom from Target Prime Rib. I hope everybody's doing pretty well. I'm going to guess that you guys were watching Rick today, this morning, and we have here one of his great friends. We have Jonathan Griffiths.
Yo,
Carnivore Muscle is here, so this is pretty fascinating, if you ask me. And we got a few people in the chats right now, so I'm just going to get some comments there. We have Joe from Joe's Sleep and Slim Down Journey. We knew she was going to be here, right? And then we have Bacon Runner Donna Ray. Of course, we have the infamous Duckmaster himself, Charger Mopar Rick. Another person, New Times, New Beginnings. What a wonderful name. And we got Grandma Crochet Corner. You've seen Grandma, right?
yeah, I know Grandma. Yeah.
And of course, Sandy Blythe. I knew you were the first one here, Sandy, but I figure save the best for last. Okay, so and we got Paul Salvatera, and Just Jerry is here, and also Feral Grandma. So you're attracting a lot of people just this early on.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm grateful everyone's joined in. Hopefully we'll have a nice little chat and discussion. And
Yeah.
Thomas, I do like you quite a lot because I think I'm actually a member, or I don't know, of your channel.
I think you
are.
You
about a year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've still not collaborated.
That much great content out there, but it's hard to really come together and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, people in the chat now, like I've got maybe 20 videos from people collectively in the chat just right now that I need to watch later, this sort of thing. I'm getting to the point now where I can't keep up with Rick, can't keep up with Joe sometimes. And some of the other folks in there.
I don't even try to keep up with Rick,
He's found a good way of making content, which is excellent. And I'm glad he's here, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think every one of us has to just do a different style, because I think, if we do it the same way every single time, and we each do the same way from each other, then it becomes monotonous. It becomes like, okay, why am I watching him if I see it over on this guy? And so I think it's good that there's a difference with us, so to speak. We got also John Together Strong here. Hey, John, how you doing? And we got Jiffy, 388, Strange Animal. So, so how have you been doing today? I know you're asking me how I was doing, but, how are you doing?
Not bad. When people ask me that question, I don't know how much detail to go into. I can run you through my whole day, which would be very eventful, but I'll cut to the cliff notes. Essentially, I came back from holiday.
Yeah, hopefully, when they ask the questions, what I'm going to probably do is let you tell your story, because I know you have a pretty intense story, and so I don't want to interrupt it for every time you're telling it. So I'm hoping to do is for you to tell your story. We got Coach Stevens in the house. Hey, Coach Stevens. Hello. I've never had him.
He's a busy man, so him being here is a big deal.
So well, he might be on your thing, but wow. It's an honor to have you here, Coach Stevens. And Uncle Charlie's here as well. So so I'm going to let you just tell your, let you tell your story as well as you want to tell it. I give enough time. You don't have just an hour. You can take the whole 2 hours if you want. That's totally up to you. But if we can just leave at least 15 minutes to answer the questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to star any questions that there are. And then at the end, then we'll ask them all in a row. Sound good?
Sure, yeah, sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to put the mic over to you and let you tell the origins of Carnivore Muscle.
Sure. I'll start in a second. Just want to say hello to Grandma, who's joined the chat. Thanks very much for joining. She's a great supporter of my channel and a moderator. So thank you for being here and keeping a close eye on all my inmates of my prison. That is my YouTube live chat. Lots of censored words in there, guys. If you try and type stuff in, it doesn't often come out. Anyway, yeah, so cheers, Thomas. Over to me, I guess. So my carnivore story essentially starts back in something like 2012. I've not been a carnivore since that time, no, but I did do effectively what was a carnivorous diet consisting of tuna from cans and 1 or 2 fried eggs a day. And I did that for about 4 to 5 months straight. That's kind of my introduction to carnivory without even doing it. I noticed in the sort of bodybuilding space, a lot of people were like, eat protein, carbs, and fats. And I was like, what happens if you just take all the energy stuff out, so your body only has your body fat to rely on? Did I get lean? Yeah, quite lean, but it just didn't work. It wasn't sustainable. I did notice some immediate effects in terms of reduced inflammation, better gut health, digestion, clearer skin initially, but I did get mercury poisoning after about, I'd estimate, month 3. So there's definitely a limitation in terms of how much seafood you can eat, especially when it comes to things like tuna. So that was my first initial intake into the carnivore world. Outside of that, I was actually working at a vegan health food shop back in 2018 to 2019. I was managing that shop with a staff of about 15 people. It's quite fun, quite effective in terms of like what I could do and what I could teach people in terms of nutrition. But my limitation was that it was very supplement based. It was never, oh, this is your diet, this is what you should do. It was all based around, what supplement should you buy? And I didn't quite like that much. It didn't sit well with my own sort of ethics, morals, principles, things like that. But yeah, and Stephen is certainly an inmate when it comes to YouTube world, all this content he's making. So yeah, yeah, outside of that, I mean, I started the carnivore diet effectively 2019, roughly 2 to 3 months after starting managing a vegan health food shop. So I had quite a sort of paradoxical experience in that regard, and it was quite entertaining in some ways, but also quite sad because I saw a lot of people around me sick. Everyone around me sick. Everyone was always off sick from work. Everyone was always coming in, spending £100 each month on supplements. But that's just a supplement they're already poor or deficient diet, and people weren't coming and getting better. They weren't reducing their expenditure each month on supplements. So it told me something's not working here. Came across the carnivore diet. Actually through, I believe it was Professor Bart Kay, Phil Escott, and Harry Sopanos. So I've got those 3 people specifically to thank for their content initially early on. So a lot of what I've learned from a general standpoint has come from them, certainly. So yeah, I've been collaborating with them and speaking with them for years now, basically. But effectively, a few months went by on the carnivore diet, and I was on and off binge eating. Some days I was having like, lean salmon, wild caught lean salmon, tuna, beef burgers, but like extra lean because I didn't want to get fat. I was terrified. But what actually happened was I got quite lean, but then my body couldn't sustain itself. I was getting fatigued. I couldn't like last the whole day of work. I was feeling exhausted. And that was when my back pain came about very harshly. So I'm back in 2013. I had a rugby injury as a result of a collision that wasn't my fault. That was an illegal game that was held in school whilst I was playing internationally in Italy. I was playing against adults at the time, so I got an injury effectively from that, and I wasn't even holding the ball at the time, which is incredible. Anyway, that left me in pain, but I was in and out, back and forth from hospitals, doctors saying, I need an X-ray. I don't need codeine and medication. I need some diagnostics. What's wrong with me? So pain didn't sound right. I'm like, all these people around me complaining about lower back pain. I was like, this isn't lower back pain. This is unreal. This is not something you could just live with and just go about your day doing 50-hour weeks. Was not going to work, Thomas. It was not going to work. So effectively, I pursued things a bit deeper. Lots of hospital appointments, sobbing in front of doctors, lots of scans, angry emails. You don't want to receive an angry email from me, guys. See lots of that going on, and it was a bit manic, a bit crazy for a few years. That led me to have the X-ray finally, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Then I had a spine surgery, like a fusion, discectomy, laminectomy back in 2022, I believe, December the 12th. Now, I was fine sort of making upward recovery in terms of reducing back pain up to about the March point, so about 3 to 4 months after. But beyond that point, it started to get worse and worse and worse quicker. So effectively, the spinal fusion surgery was failed. So I've got a failed spinal fusion. I was still able to do things I like to do, which is around bodybuilding. I'm coaching people online, making content, making resources with people. But my difficulty in that case lies in the fact that I can have a hard time sometimes making content, at least to the degree and volume that I'd want to. At one point I was making, I believe it is 1 video every day for about 3 months straight on my YouTube channel, if you look back a couple of years back. But now it's not on the cards. So I've had to use different tools like AI to make my videos. A lot of talking to my phone. Tell me this, write this, put this in a script, all this stuff. So yeah, that kind of got me to where I am now, which is struggling to make content. So what my aim for this sort of video is, rather than to say, poor me, pity me, my life's hard, I want to be uplifting to people, want to be inspirational, want to be motivational. And I want people that watch this video right now to have aspirations for the future, so that not a lot is going on in your life to the point that you can't make things better. There's always a way out. There's always a good, better, and best case scenario. I think we should all strive to chase the best case scenario. So rather than going into too much detail about myself, I mean, I can say I'm a fully qualified nutritionist with a degree in human nutrition, qualifications, diplomas in medical science, herbal science, nutritional science, supplement science, business, all sorts of stuff. I volunteered a lot in healthcare positions, and that's kind of where I am now. I've got very diverse past. So I'm a very well-lived, well-cultured, well-experienced human being. I've probably lived about 4 lifetimes already, and I'm 30 years old. Yes, 30, guys. You can tell I've aged a bit. So I've lived certainly a very full life at the moment, which I'm very grateful for. And I will commit to say to this, it may be disturbing for people to hear. So I suggest you void out the video for about 30 seconds. But roughly 359 days ago, I tried to end my life, or wanted to at least. I was minutes away from doing it. Then my brother sent me a text from my phone with my soon-to-be newborn baby niece, Clara, saying, oh, she's fine in the mother's womb and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, well, that's a bit of a sign from heaven, isn't it? I'm not much of a heaven-hell believer, but I'm quite spiritual in that sense. So I definitely received a bit of an epiphany at that point, a bit of a aha moment. So I've been chasing up mental health support things and stuff like that since then. Recently, I had the very great pleasure of meeting a lovely lady who's on a live chat now called Joe's Sleep and Slim Down Journey. I still struggle to say it. So that's her on the screen in a minute. You might be able to see her if you scroll through, but she makes lovely little children's story narrations, and also she talks about a GLP-1 health journey online, which is also really cool. So I'm grateful to have met her through YouTube, funny enough. And she lives 4 hours north of me, up in Nottingham in the north of England. And anyone from that area of the world will say it's not north, it's Midlands. And I'll say, well, it's north of me. So, but yeah, I'd like to kind of get to some questions now, if I may, because I appreciate you may have some questions for me, Thomas. People in the chat may have questions for me, but time is limited. I can sit here for a duration of time, but not too long. So I want to make sure.
Not a problem at all.
You know.
So no one asked any questions, which actually shocks me. I guess they were just so.
They know it all, God. Should we just cut it off now? In a sort of.
How long have we been on for? Oh, we've only been on for 13 minutes, but
I've got very efficient, Thomas. I've done about 100 of these.
Don't be too efficient. So let me see. If anybody has any questions, put it on QQQ so that I can spot them. Let me see if there's anything. Sometimes people forget to put the QQQ and tend to miss them. I did see Crochet Grandma was saying about having, like putting your channel into the thing. I actually did, Grandma, and I pinned it to the top because I know how to do that. I'm
going to do it on my channel as well,
Charlie.
Thomas.
What do you eat in a whole day?
Oh, no, I don't need to do that because I'm on my own channel. Ignore that, Dora.
It's okay. Uncle Charlie's asking, what do you eat in a day?
That's a good question. It does vary quite a lot. What I promote and do myself, for the most part, is a whole foods, animal-based diet. Honey isn't on the menu, guys. Avocado isn't on the menu. Mayonnaise is not on the menu. So I eat things like beef, lamb, chicken, fish, eggs, whey protein. I add gelatin powder to my foods. Sometimes I make a jelly. I can make carnivore ice cream. But at the point now, my sort of carnivore way of eating, I don't really fancy other foods that much. It's not really. If I do fancy anything, it's more of novelty, out of tradition with family, so like a roast dinner at Christmas, that sort of thing. For example, what I eat in a day, typically, it might be 2 or 3 beef burgers in the morning with 3-4 scrambled eggs, fried eggs maybe, a sprinkle of cheese. Then I'll do the equivalent of that about 4 times per day. Each meal does have a dessert with it. I'm very fortunate. So each meal is a 2-course meal. Just because my body weight, my mass, I have to eat a lot more food than most people. So I want people to be very well understood with the fact that I add these foods in, not because I think they're essential, but because they're additive to my diet. And I won't be able to get them in otherwise. So that might mean a carnivore ice cream, eggs, raw milk, a bit of gelatin, sugar-free syrup, whatever. I'm a demon for sugar-free stuff. That's my pitfall as a human being, I think. So that's about as bad as it gets sometimes. But yeah, a pinch of salt, whey protein, casein, things like that. Blend it up, put it in the freezer, and have maybe a quarter of that 4 times per day. Outside of that, it's generally just mixed food. So, seafood, fish, salmon, mackerel as well, sometimes sardines. I don't really eat offal that much. I haven't had liver in quite a few years, but the thing is, when I first started, I had a lot of liver, and I think I'm livered out, if I'm honest. I eat probably enough to feed one person for a year. So I've certainly stopped that out now at this point. But yeah, other than that, I mean, effectively, I can say my macros because people are always curious about that. So I'm currently, I'm at the peak of my off season, or the very end of my off season before or bodybuilding competition. This is my highest food intake currently this year. That lands me at 430 protein, 30 carbs through dairy and eggs, and around 240 grams of fat daily through butter, interstitial animal fats, things like that. I do supplement with omega-3 amongst a number of other things as well. I seem to find it helpful. Like I said, probably at the start, I've been doing just over 6 years now. So I've tried all the permutations of carnivore, high fat, low fat, high protein. But what I'd say now is, for me, where I'm at right now, what keeps me happy, my body happy, progressing in the gym, stuff like that, is a high protein and, relatively speaking, a moderate fat diet. I don't need to gain body fat for bodybuilding, so it's just extra weight that I have to carry around, so I don't really increase fat that much. If I do have to get into shape sometimes, I'll drop fat. So that would be, say, for example, in a couple of weeks' time, be dropping from 240 to about 210 fat. I might run that for a month, lose, maybe 4 kilos, 5 kilos, run and drop it again, same sort of thing. But yeah, that's largely my diet. So it's nothing special, it's nothing unique that I do. It's just the same as what most people here might do, just with a few supplements here and there, really. So
okay. This is not really a question, but Uncle Charlie, he said that he eats OMAD, 1 pound grass-fed beef, 2 pieces of sausage, 6 whole eggs, and he was 325 and now he's 180. So congratulations,
excellent.
Uncle Charlie. That's a pretty huge achievement.
You're eating 1/4 of what I eat per day. So good for you. If that keeps you satisfied, you've achieved
whatever
those goals. Good for you.
Grandma's asking, why exactly did you start carnivore, and how has it helped you? Like, how do you feel?
That's a good question, Grandma. Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Well, for those of you that don't know, I live with autism. I was diagnosed quite late in life. Fortunately, I've got somewhat of a set of social skills. I can communicate quite well, as opposed to a typical, autistic individual. Where my issues lie are things like sensory overload, overwhelm. My social battery is quite limited. But in terms of like what I kind of went for is, what cognitive benefits can I get? What can I get to be more efficient? Because when I was at work, this was during the era of the great, the viral impact, basically. And what I found was, oftentimes I was covering for other people at work. I was doing effectively 3 man's worth of jobs. My work was taking me 50 hours a week, running around full pelt around a shop, answering the phone, putting another phone in my pocket, dishing out stock to put it back on the shelves, answering the phone calls, doing the emails, taking orders in the shop, working in the cafe as well. So I had a very tough task ahead of me. I didn't have time to have a lunch break. It was, what can I get in 10 minutes while I sneak around the corner outside, sort of thing. So I wanted an efficient way of getting food in that was satiating. So, high protein, satiating, carnivore, low volume food, high impact in terms of nutritional density. So for me, that was very useful and impactful. So that's kind of the main thing that I was going for, the cognitive benefit, digestive benefit. And I was kind of curious about the strength and performance benefit. And I've done loads of different tests over time. And I'm not one of the people that benefit from adding carbs to the diet in terms of pre or post workout. A lot of people do, but it's not been my experience, generally speaking, with a lot of the clients I've worked with. So in that regard, I've actually found, if I can keep my carbs below about 30 grams a day, sometimes 40, I can certainly improve my training performance, particularly the endurance side of things. What I found with the carbohydrates in the diet is they tend to make me more inflamed. My guts, my eyes, my skin doesn't feel as good. The texture's not as good in my skin. My sleep's not nearly as good. For me, the impact has been through the reduced volume of food, I think, mostly, which are reducing the sugar, more of a ketogenic state, more, what's the word? Mitogenesis. So my mitochondria have been upregulated at this point, and a lot better than what I was before. So in some aspects, my elements of fatigue have improved. So my cognition's a bit clearer. My mental clarity is excellent. It's just I can't do things for many hours a day. I've got probably about 4 hour window each day where I can, record this, talk to Joe on the phone, send some emails out, work with clients, things like that. So I'm quite limited on what I can achieve just because my pain levels are so high. I can't not medicate, if that makes sense. So my pain levels at a baseline are 8 out of 10. The pain condition I live with as a result of the spine fusion was called CRPS type 2. Effectively, it's the most painful condition known to man. But I'm able to sit here and still collaborate with people. I have to be very well managed my time, and think being autistic actually helps with in that regard. But in terms of, in terms of the benefits, that's been the main thing. I did one experiment roughly 2 to 3 years ago. I did a meat, fruit, and honey experiment. My training went to crap. So I did it for about 3 days straight, and I didn't get any endurance benefit. In fact, all my lifts actually decreased in terms of time to tension by about 10 to 15%. So I recorded I believe it's leg extension and leg curl exercises. So simple movements that I can easily assess and work hard on safely. From that point, I was like, okay, I'm not performing better in a gym, so why would I want to add carbs in? I'm not getting what these people online are saying. I respect the fact that they may have achieved that, but not for me. So my biology seems to be a bit different. But yeah, that's what kind of got me into the carnivore diet. That's what's inspired me. And people like Thomas, Joe, countless people, Rick, those people online have encouraged me and, been passionate with their own diet journeys, have sort of pushed me forward to sort of carry on doing it myself because I've seen their benefit. I achieve benefit. Doesn't mean I get the same benefit as everyone else. I've not lost 140 pounds like Uncle Charlie, but I've certainly achieved a lot in my short lifetime so far, 30 years. And I've competed as a carnivore bodybuilder. I'm the regional carnivore bodybuilder online, apparently. So I've done quite well at that. My highest placing so far in terms of statistics is 7th place at the national level as an open category competitor in bodybuilding, in classic bodybuilding, sorry. But this year I'm going to move down or across, it depends what way you look at it, to the disabled category. So I'll be against people like myself with the same or similar sort of infringements to their health. So I'm on a more level playing field this year. But hopefully this year I'm going to compete in the start of June, the middle of October, and the middle of November. The June will be a bodybuilding qualifier. If I qualify in that show, I'll be going to the British finals. If I win the British finals, I'll be going to the world finals. And if I win that, I can put the food scales away and say I've achieved it. I've aced the game. I've got a PhD in gains effectively. So that's my goal. And at least then it proves so people like Thomas and others can sort of say online, well, you can't say you can't build muscle on a carnivore diet because this guy did it, and he did it whilst he had a regressing state of health. So if that doesn't prove the point, I don't know what does.
Proof's in the pudding. So
yeah.
All right. So let me just check out this one live, see if it's something I need to mark. Nope, I don't see anything. Okay, so a lot of questions that all of a sudden popped up. So going in order. So Kathy B here, she asks, do you eat before you work out or after?
Both. I've got to eat a lot of food, Kathy. A lot of food. Serious amount of food. Probably more than Rick most days. So yeah, I eat my current schedule routine for what I can do with the medication I'm on, my time limits, my framework of days. I effectively eat breakfast most days at about 8, 9 sometimes. I'd go to the gym at about 11, 12 o'clock, midday sort of thing. I eat again about 2 or 3 o'clock, then I eat again about 4 or 5 o'clock, then again at about 8 o'clock. So effectively it's 4 meals per day. I do try to eat to satiety at the moment. I found because I track my food, I know what I eat, and it keeps me weight stable or slightly increasing. My personal preference is for people to try both. If that's what you're wondering, like what works better. There's not a rule of thumb. I've worked with hundreds of carnivores around the world, athletes, competitors, trainers, bodybuilders, fitness experts. And what I found is it's about 50-50. So I can't give a bracket, even broad guideline statement. It does seem to depend on what you want to do. So I'd look at your own stats. I mean, look at your progression in the gym, what you're trying to achieve. Look at your objective markers, how much you're lifting, your time to tension, your form, all this sort of stuff. How you feel in the gym is important as well. And try it without food before, then have food after, but also try it in reverse as well. Both are effective. What matters the most is the effective mass of food that you take in over a given day. That's the most important thing. That's going to change your body composition outcomes. When you get more specific, that's when you sort of do the trial and error yourself. So I encourage people to do the experiment themselves. There's not a rule of thumb. There's not a general guideline, and you'll find for yourself what works best. But that's my take on it.
Okay, so we go back to the star. All right, so let me show that one. So Joe is asking, why did you choose carnivore diet, and how does that impact your bodybuilding?
Good question. I kind of went over that a little bit earlier, Jay. If you may have heard,
you did.
Yeah,
but
I can go into more detail.
Question.
Yeah, I can answer the second question, I guess. How does that impact your bodybuilding? I find that my satiety levels are more accurate. Effectively, if I eat to satiety, I tend to about maintain my weight or lose some. So it means I don't have any sort of real inklings to binge on stuff or have like more food than what I need. So I think if that keeps my health quite stable, then it's a better long-term outcome, really. The satiating side of things, the reduction of food noise, the fact that I can monitor things more accurately. Effectively, the more food, as a bodybuilder, actually specifically, if you think I'm eating 5 foods per day over, say, 4 meals, I'm eating those 5 things. It's just 5 things I need to weigh each day, roughly. Now, if you look at it from the standpoint of a gym rat diet sort of thing, it's chicken, broccoli, rice, almond butter, pancakes, this, that. There's like 20 different ingredients in a given bodybuilder's day. They've got more to weigh, therefore there's more to manage, therefore there's more risk, therefore there's more human error risk, which is not ideal as a bodybuilder. You want to be accurate at things because ultimately we're all doing, well, at least bodybuilders are doing their own experiment. I know over this year I've eaten this food and it's yielded this result. So if I wanted to replicate the results next year, I need to do about the same, maybe a bit more food, maybe a bit less food, depending on what kind of objective and subjective markers I have. So it's the accuracy side of things that I like. I like being able to go to the shop and buy 5 things down like 1 or maybe 2 aisles. So much more efficient. You're not messing around in the middle aisles, getting all the crap, the processed food. If I want to have processed food, yeah, I have it sometimes, but it's few and far between. I probably estimate myself as, in terms of animal food, nutrient content, 99% carnivore. I'm pretty strict on that, and I will have 1 meal out with family or friends or loved ones, maybe once every 3, sometimes 4 weeks. But that's largely it. So yeah, that's been the main benefit for me, is the efficiency of things and the accuracy side of things.
All right. So, Diane and Pets, where are you from?
My name's not John, by the way. It's Jonathan. But like it says on the screen. But yeah, where am I from? I'm from England, in Dorset, so the south central of England. So if you look at the map, right at the bottom, right in the middle, just above the Isle of Wight, it's a town called Christchurch. It's got quite an elderly demographic, a lot of coffee shops, a lot of charity shops, a lot of slow people like me, walking around with sticks like me. So yeah, it's quite an interesting background. But when I visited Joe, for example, up north in Nottingham, it's a totally different demographic of people. Everyone there is like 30, 40 years old. The average age where I live is about 75 to 80. So yeah, you seldom do you ever see young people around here. But that's where I'm from, near the south coast. So it's near the beach.
Okay. So Uncle Charlie is asking something a little different. Is how long does it take to gain muscle?
That long.
Okay.
It's a piece of string, Thomas.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I saw that.
I don't know. I can't tell you honestly, but what I would say from a scientific standpoint and anecdotally, you're looking at 100 or 200 grams of muscle per month, maybe. If the person is a female, it's less, of course, but it depends. I mean, if you're Thomas's height, maybe my height, it could be 200 grams or more, maybe. If you're Joe, you're female, you're a bit shorter, it could be 100 grams. But it also depends how far along you are in your journey. But if you say look over a course of a year, you might be lucky to gain in your first year 5 to 6 kilos. Second year, 3 or 4, maybe. Beyond that, it's just a few kilos here and there. But I wouldn't be looking at how long it takes, because for me, the bodybuilding side of things, the building muscle side of things, is the fun of it. The journey is the fun of it. So encourage people to look at it that way. Not so much how long does it take me to get this outcome. Chase the outcome, because you never know how hard you have to work to get to the end point. And if you stop now because it's a bit too long, oh, if I said it's 6 months and your goal was 5 months and 20 days, I'll forget it then. You know, you see what I mean? So you're not going to get your goal if you have that kind of mindset in a sense. And I'm not sort of not reprimanding you for thinking that, but yeah, it does take a considerable amount of time. I've been doing this now for 17 years roughly, so it's over half my lifetime. And there's probably some people in the chat, perhaps that are even younger than that. So yeah, it does take a long time. So I'll be very patient. That'd be my words of wisdom.
Okay. So let me just start a couple things. Okay. So I'm going to go to the next question after this next question, if you know what I mean, and then go to this question. All right. I think this is actually for Joe, even though it says no. But I thought you could answer it too. Sandy's asking Joe, how close do you live to Jonathan, and do you see each other often?
So it's 4 hours away. We don't see each other often.
No, not for 4
we
hours.
speak every day.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, so 4 hours. In terms of distance, we're looking at 191 to 192 miles away, depending what route you take. So 200 miles. What is that in kilometers? 300 kilometers, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. So it's quite far. It's a considerable amount. It's looking at the country. You know, England. It's just maybe just over halfway, roughly. So.
Okay. So let me. All right. So the next question, but before we go there, I just want to put out on stage a few people that have joined us. We got DC Rebuilding, David, and then we also have Janet is here. Jonathan Thomas, good afternoon. And then we have Patricia saying hello to us, and we got Larry Ryan. Good afternoon, Thomas. I'm sure he's also saying good afternoon to you too. And then the question that we're waiting for is from Joe again. What's life like as a bodybuilder, and how does the chronic illness impact it? You pretty much answered that question already, but you know, I'm sure she's asking for like a different different analysis on it. So, and that's all of the questions so far. Let me see if there's any other questions that have popped up. Uncle Charlie's asking a question, so I'm just going to put it right on the screen.
Joe's got quite a few.
Yeah. All right, so this one's from Uncle Charlie. Can you get abs without doing crunches, and how do you get them?
Charlie, we all have abs. Whether or not they show is a completely different story. Depends what you're doing at the moment in terms of like your body fat levels. I mean, to get your abdominal muscle showing like a six-pack traditionally, I guess you're looking at getting your abdominal skin fold level below about 10 millimeters, so about 1 centimeter. Outside of that, crunches can help. The problem with crunches is they don't have a way of meaningfully increasing the load over time. So you have to effectively add weight to your body. So hold a disc in front of you whilst doing the crunches. Be careful of your lower back as well, because it can cause quite a strain on those. And look at other movements as well. It's not just crunches. You might want to look at ab planks. You may want to look at side planks. You might want to look at hanging leg raises, captain chair leg raises, abdominal curls, cable crunches. There's lots of different ways you can do it. You can use bands as well. But, you know, for example, if I say to you, do 3 sets of 20, well, how are you going to progress from that? Because if you want more development, you have to up the ante each time, or at least do it meaningfully over a trend or a period of time. So it might be that you say do 3 sets of 20 to start, and you think that's getting quite easy now. You know, I don't need much rest between it. I'm getting through it quite effectively. Try slowing down the reps. Try adding a weight to your body. So that's what I'd recommend. But it can take a bit of time. But depends how much body fat you've got. Too much body fat, they're not going to show, full stop. So, yeah.
Okay, so the next one is from Joe, the infamous Joe, Sleep and Slim. Many of us suffering with morbid obesity and using a GLP-1 to manage weight, hashtag weight loss and hashtag health transformation. are turning to hashtag high protein and hashtag strength training. Is this a good idea?
Good question, Joe. Yeah, so effectively you want to definitely get enough protein in your diet to support what you're trying to do. Protein comes from the Greek term or etiology proteos, which means the first or the beginning or the start or essential or the one. What that effectively means is when your diet, the protein that you take in is the most important nutrient you have. If you have protein in your diet, you can sustain yourself for a long period of time. The thing is, protein in an animal form sense is often coupled with interstitial animal fat, so the form of saturated fat predominantly. So if you get protein in, by default, you'll be getting some fat in, which is good. What I will say is the protein as well, it's not just building muscles, tissue, skin, hair, nails. It's important also to help build nerves, create neurotransmitters, plays a part in different biochemical cycles in the body to produce energy. There's tons of other things as well. It's all very individual kind of things, but create DNA. It kind of goes back to this talk about, lower protein diets increase your longevity, but that's not the case, because what you actually see is if you reduce your protein too much, the telomeres, the caplets, the ends of your DNA strands will actually become shorter faster because there's no repair system. So it's a case of scaling back degradation versus upregulation. So you want that middle point. Ideally, I believe most people are in a better state of health if they eat slightly less than slightly more. Just from the standpoint of food nowadays can be hyper-palatable, so trying to eat slightly more could be more of a problem. Whereas if we eat slightly less and you train your body to become more efficient in what it does take in, you're also going to have better nutrient absorption because you're not stuffing in too much. You're also going to have less intestinal permeability because you're not straining your guts with too much volume and too many potential anti-nutrients. So that's what I'll be looking at personally. In regards to animal protein versus plant protein, because that's a common question I often get, animal protein typically will be absorbable, usable by the body around about a rate of 90 to 100%, typically about 95 at the middle point. Plant protein, it's not completely useless. It does do something, guys. It's not like you eat plant protein and it doesn't do anything, providing you absorb the actual food you're not intolerant of course. But the rate of that is about 80 to 85%. And this goes back to an article I believe I read in 1983, where they measured the absorption and bioavailability of different animal and plant proteins. Animal proteins were more efficient, more effective at providing the body with amino acids which it needs, which are the constituents which come together to form a full protein. So, definitely essential. Another point I'd like to mention, this goes to research by, I can't remember the names because they're really difficult to say, but European guys, basically. But effectively, what they said was a protein intake of roughly 40% of the total energy value or calorie value, what it's worth, should come from protein. And that allows maximum satiety in terms of bang for buck. So if you have say you had 1,000 calories, if 40% of those calories came from protein, you're in a much better state than otherwise. And I know people are going to comment below saying calories aren't a metric useful for measuring food intake. I know, but this is what the study said, and that's how they measured it. So it's the only way I can actually communicate it across scientifically without being incorrect or making unfair, unbalanced statements, basically. But the satiation factor is very high, and I attribute that mostly, of course, it's a central nutrient. The other standpoint is it takes longer to digest because there's more in it, there's more nutrition in it, there's more stuff within that actual unit of size. It also accompanies B vitamins as well, essential for energy creation, things like that. So you'll definitely get a lot more out of eating a high protein diet versus a low protein diet. The problem that people have is oftentimes they'll be too low on the fat, and that's can be common. Sometimes people say, I'm worried about getting protein poisoning. I'm worried about getting rabbit starvation. And I'll say, don't worry. You're not 4% body fat or less as a male. Therefore, it won't happen. It's not going to happen, guys. You'll have so many warning signs on your body, your appetite, how you feel, your mood, everything, your sleep, your digestion will go so bad before you could actually get to that point. So what I suggest people do, in my opinion, if they're looking for body composition improvements, increase protein up to the maximum possible. I don't mean go from 50 grams a day to 200 grams a day. I mean, say you're at 100, go to like maybe 110 for a week, see how you feel. Keep going up to the point until you think it's a bit much for my digestion now, then scale back a little bit. That should, of course, be matched with enough fat as well, but the fat intake is relative in the context of your output and activity level. So the protein, for the most part, for most people, should land about the same. If you're trying to build muscle, it should slightly increase over time, slight trend based on your body weight, your muscle mass, the strength that you have, the weight that you're lifting in the gym. The fat will be the thing that levers the most. So I'll be very surprised if people started doing, very high protein diet and very low protein diet. It's not, your body has a default amount it needs to sort of sustain its current mass size in terms of muscularity. So that's my little mini masterclass on protein. So
okay. All right, so I'm going to put this up first. It's not really a question. It's more of like Jemit's making a joke to Rick. Rick, yes, LOL, abs, animal-based system, LOL. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Let me just take that out. And going back to the beginning question, this is from Patricia. Talking about elder age, what is the best way to regain muscle waste? She is 78 and poor strength.
That's a good question, Patricia. There's a lot of angles I can tackle this question with, and unfortunately, I would need a lot of context to give you really concise, exact advice. But what I will say is, what we're looking at in terms of the science that we do have, we certainly need more protein as we get older. I potentially, hypothetically, attribute that to reduced protein sensitivity. So you need more protein in your body to get the same signaling to stimulate protein synthesis in the mTOR pathway. And that effectively is what allows your body to regain tissue. You need enough protein in your body for your body to be able to have enough nitrogen in it, which attributes to something called the nitrogen balance within your body. So that means the protein will create nitrogen in your body, which means that your body's in a state of protein synthesis. That will then signal things to your brain, your hypothalamus, to say, "Oh, create more muscle. Transcript this DNA to do this action in the body, basically." So you definitely need enough protein. The main contributor to this protein synthesis that I'm talking about is leucine, which is one of several or many protein amino acids within the body. It does come in the greatest amount in things like dairy. So if you can get more dairy in, that'd be more effective. So that means whey protein, casein, perhaps, milk, yogurt. Ideally, pick more whole foods, less refined things, less processed things that aren't dried, ideally. So really, that leaves you things like cottage cheese, some yogurts, perhaps, some butter, cheese. I think actually there's a few other things as well. But that's what I'll be looking at personally. If you don't tolerate dairy, things like that, you'll be looking at the animal protein. So just beef, for example. Beef will have other things in it which create a positive nitrogen balance for the body. Things like creatine is rich in iron, blood building. If you can build all this muscle, but you can't create enough iron to create new blood cells and things like that, then you're doomed, basically. So definitely try and get enough red meat in your diet as well. So that means beef or lamb. Eggs as well contain a lot of cholesterol, which is great for signaling the body, it's a precursor substrate to create animal hormones in your body. So things like testosterone. Yes, women do have testosterone in the body, which converts into estrogen at certain amounts, depending on if you're male or female. So that's what you're looking at. So you need to get enough substrate in the body first. So you got the input side. Now the output side you're looking at. So that's the exercise, the activity. I suggest you start with something you can do and do repeatably and do safely. So that might not mean that you're going to do my workouts, but you can still do something. It might be that you do, for example, 2 to 3 times a week, you might do a wall sit, like a static hold, strength for your knees, your joints will still get benefit. You'll still get an increase in bone density. Things like push-ups. If you can't do push-up, get on your knees, do push-ups that way. If you still can't do a knee on your knee push-up, do like some pushes against the wall. What I suggest people do is try, especially in this instance, it tries to focus mostly on calisthenic exercises, so things that you can do at home without equipment effectively. Any kind of movement that you do which is outside the norm, so skipping, rebounding. If you've got steps at home where you live, try and climb up 2 steps at once rather than just 1. Obviously do it within your limits. So I'm not saying, jump on trampolines and things and do flips, but try and do things that way. Try and find a routine you can sustain for a long period of time. Make gradual improvements each time. So whether that be time and tension, so might do a wall sit for 60 seconds. Next week, go for 65 seconds, so on and so forth. Push-ups, you might do 5 reps, try to do 6 the next week. Try and build up a little program, part of your routine. If you can tag it in with morning sunshine, morning grounding, even better. It gives you a bit of For the day, it stimulates your adrenal hormones, helps wake you up a little bit. So that might be a good sort of practice to do as well. Outside of that, if you don't want to do anything, you think, sod it, I can't be asked to diet and I can't be asked to go to the gym. Your best bet, honestly, is probably to take a supplement like leucine. So that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the amino acid. So add that onto your meals, maybe half a teaspoon, something like that. That'll help bolster up your protein intake as well. So you'll be able to sustain and build more muscle tissue as you age into your finer and riper years. So, yeah.
All right, excellent. Let me just. All right. So the next one is pretty simple. What does doing the treadmill do for you?
I don't like the treadmill. But yeah, basically what I do, Uncle Charlie, is I struggle to walk safely on my own without aid. I can't walk very far. Yeah, so I'm not great at it, if I'm honest. The reason why I do it in terms of the gym, so I often do a 10-minute warm up on the treadmill in the gym, holding to the handle sort of thing. I prefer doing it at an 18% incline because that aggravates my back the least, funnily enough. I believe it's because it transfers the energy through my toes, through to my heel, through to my knee, through to my hip for a longer chain of action versus just doing it flat, which is more heel or ankle based. That puts strain directly through my hips. So I'm effectively using the incline to put tension through my muscles rather than the joints, if that makes sense. Obviously, with a spine disease and hip issues, that's kind of the main reason why. I find that with training, I can just get on with my training without any warm-ups. But I'm getting a bit older now, joints are a bit more creaky, so it's good to have a higher state of readiness, I'd say. So for me, what I've noticed actually in recent science I was reading, effectively when you train, you use your mitochondria to create more ATP. That's basically what happens. The thing is, you need to rev up those engines. It's not like a car ignition electric car where you press it and you go. You know, we have warm-ups to get the body prepared for what you're about to do. So for example, if I'm training legs one day and say I can't feel my feet as well, there's a bit of neuropathy sort of from nerve pain, things like that, then yeah, you know, using my toes, walking barefoot with socks on, of course, on a treadmill helps me with proprioception to the ground. So my feeling, my level of groundedness is improved. So therefore I'm able to efficiently execute the movement, for example, a leg press through the weight, through my feet without any sort of transfer of energy that's inappropriate. So through the joints, for example. So that's why I do that. Outside of that, I don't particularly like going to most gyms. They're very noisy, bright, sensory overload is ridiculous. So for me, it's my way of saying like a ritual, like a lot of autistic people, neurodivergent people have rituals or habits. For me, it's a habit now. It's added it in. Okay, noisy reception at the gym, go in the gym, get to the change room, noisy change room. I'm in the gym, noisy. Okay, let's find a way to zone out. Let's put my headphones on, listen to music I like, listen to the Carnival Muscle theme tune. If you guys haven't heard it yet, I suggest you reach out to me. I'll probably send it to you. It's about 2 minutes long that Joe actually made. Yeah, I listen to music and that sort of starts me up, gets me prepared for the workout ahead. So,
okay, so I'm going to actually mark that real quick. All right, so this is not really a question. It's more of a statement, but then I have a question because of it, if that makes any sense. So DC Building is saying dragon flags, rollouts, lever, etc. No crunches, great for core. Now I get crunches are not great for the core, but I've never heard of dragon flags. Can you?
Dragon flags, yeah, they're good. So a dragon flag is effectively, you've ever seen Bruce Lee's movies?
Some of them, yeah, not all of them.
Yeah, so he's got like training clips sort of thing. Effectively, what you're doing is it's almost like a plank but midair. They're hard for people. They're hard to do. Or you've seen people do urban workouts where they're holding onto a lamppost on the side and the whole body's like horizontal. So effectively, it's like trying to strengthen the whole body in a sense. And yeah, here's correct about the core. Yeah, it doesn't. Your core strength is based around functional movements for the most part, things you actually do day to day. So you might actually get a better core workout, for example, doing a stiff-legged deadlift for your back. Just you have to use your core to stabilize your body, your torso, as you're extending the spine, basically. With crunches, they just add blood flow to the abs. Yes, you'll get some strength benefit, but in terms of transferability, day-to-day functionality in life, there's not many positions in life where I can think, oh, I'm so glad I did these extra 20 crunches today. They made me so much stronger for doing my 20 crunches. You know, there's no effective output in that regard. But I mean, for myself, yeah, I mean, some kind of sit-up variation, if your back can tolerate it, you can do it safely, can be useful. If you're going down from lying down flat in your bed to sitting up, that could be helpful. But yes, it's a good point, DC Race, and I'd certainly check out his channel for a lot of stuff, fitness stuff, breath work stuff, information about diet. He's lived quite a few lifetimes like myself, so I'd definitely recommend checking out DC Rebuilding on YouTube.
Yeah, I definitely concur to that. All right, so Jim had asked a question, which I think you pretty much answered, but she put a comment in that she asked the question, so like twice. So I don't want to dismiss her. She came in late, so she probably didn't see that comment. So she's asking, what do you eat in a day, and do you fast? I don't know if you answered the fasting question. I think you sort of did.
I don't currently fast, but I did practice intermittent fasting for a period of about 7 years. That's prior to being carnivore. That was very effective. I think with all these sort of interventions we add in, so I imagine there's a lot of people listening to this have, tried getting out, getting processed foods, getting rid of processed foods. You might go paleo, you might go keto, you might go carnivore, you might sort of dabble in between somewhere. But effectively, yeah, that's kind of where I found myself now, is just a relatively strict carnivore diet with seasonings, with Pepsi Max, with chewing gum, with sweeteners. So I'm doing that, and I don't have any kind of negative health inference because of it. So I'm right with doing that. But if my health did get worse because of it, then yeah, I would change it. In regards to the foods I eat, you may want to look back at this video, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes or so. Effectively, it's a whole food, animal-based diet. No fruit, no honey, no mayonnaise, no avocado stuff. I don't like rabbit food, to be honest. But yeah, I have meals at family once a month, or every 3 weeks sometimes. That's largely it. There's nothing unique about my diet. It's just I have a very high protein intake and a moderate fat intake, relatively speaking.
All right. So again, not a question, but it's from DC. He's just saying to everybody, don't forget to like and share this, guys. Jonathan is one of the best nutritionists on the planet, which I agree. Check out his members area, HTP, youtube.com, channel UCWF, NUS, QZ, and a lot of BG membership.
You don't have to worry. I think
check it out.
I'll pin it.
Yeah. All right, so we take that off there. Uncle Charlie is asking. Uncle Charlie's asking a lot of questions, which is good. Thank you.
Good. Perfect.
Can you lose inches in your stomach and not weight? If so, how? And thank you.
Yeah, you can do. With the inch in the stomach, you want to attack it from all angles if that's your goal. All I would say, though, is try and build muscle at the same time. If you're an absolute beginner, noob, novice, amateur, you've never been to a gym before, do some sort of like calisthenic workout, or just do a rotation of the machines at your local gym if you can. Try and get a trainer in first. What I say to people oftentimes is they want to know what's the perfect program, perfect diet. And I sort of say, well, I could send you the perfect program. I could zoom out, go in time and fast forward and say, this is the perfect program. This is how you end up with 20-inch biceps. I don't know. Problem is, it's the execution side of it. So you're only as good as what you can perform. Just like making YouTube videos. I could put the best information in a video, the best content. Thomas could do just the same. But if it's not got the thumbnail, it's not got the tags, the right title, no one's going to watch it. It's not going to be effective. So you've got to make sure that your workouts are actually effective. So I'd actually emphasize focusing more so on learning technique, watch YouTube videos. I've got a playlist on my channel called Exercise. It's got something like, I'd say about 20 different videos in it, well narrated. They show you what to worry about when you're training, what to think about, how to breathe, how to hold handles, what grip to use, where to put your feet, all this sort of stuff. So definitely check that out. So that's going to be the most critical thing. Then from there, or you could go to personal trainer and get them to show you first person, if you can find a good one. Then yeah, sort of do a program. Just find maybe one exercise for each of your body parts in the gym that you like, that you feel comfortable doing. Start there. Just make progressions from there. Then as you start to get more results, you'll be more passionate, more interested. You have a natural inclination to learn more, so then you can add in more exercises. Perhaps you take some out. Perhaps you notice they give you joint pain. Maybe you have to change your technique. Maybe you have to not do them at all. So it can take a long time, but you're looking at it from multifaceted. So make sure your diet is correct. Animal diet, animal food-based diet, species appropriate, 70 to 80% ruminant meat plus if you can. Eggs, fish, and dairy based on whatever you prefer, whatever makes you feel good. And then you're looking at things like the training, 1 to 3 times per week. 1 is brilliant, 2 is a bit better, 3 a little bit better than that. But where people go wrong is they oftentimes they try to do too much training and they think 4 times is better than 3 or 5 is better than 4. But you're only as good as what you can recover from. That is the bottleneck in bodybuilding, which I've found and everybody around the world has found. You can keep training harder. We can up the ante. We can say, throw 20 sets at me. Let's add a drop set. Let's make the exercise more intense. Let's push against him so it makes it harder to lift. Problem is, if you can't recover from that, you just get worse. So you've got to find that fine line between going to the gym, enjoying it, anticipating each workout, finding a result, and keep doing it, replicating it week after week after week. And that's what's going to get you the results. And the recovery side of things, make sure you sleep as much sleep as you need. Take more naps if you need them. Try not to do things which don't mimic or adhere to what your natural instincts are. So if you're tired, don't then think, oh, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm tired, I'm going to have 4 cups of coffee. You're sending the wrong signal to your body. Your body's telling you, say, Charlie, calm your tits and lie down, go to sleep. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the result. So diet, recovery, and exercise are key.
Okay, so I'm going to skip to the bottom here and then go back up again. But I figured this one we want to skip. So DC just gifted 10 Carnivore Muscle memberships to your channel. So
thanks very much. Appreciate that. I recommend the same with DC. DC and I both have unique YouTube channels. And we speak from personal experience and expertise based on what we've done in our lifetime so far. His channel is something like £1 per month, which is insane. Like $1.20, about the same for mine actually. For that, you do get a lot of content and a lot of value for your money. It's not so much that we make this content to make millions. It's not it. I don't make millions. I think I made about 50, 60 quid last month on YouTube for how many hours of work, you know? So definitely check it out. And we just have to have some things of resources, more of a way for us to say, thank you for this content, because we get a bit of a kickback as well. So when we make content, people say, oh, thanks for the video. I appreciate that. That helps my autistic son. That helps my gran who can't go to the gym at the moment. It helps motivate us in a sense. So if you're in this video, my stream or Thomas's, please go below, hit like, leave a comment after the stream as well. It's fun. If you've got any questions, I might answer them as well. And tell us what you found helpful, because it's always good to know from your part what we can actually do to help provide more information, help to you.
Of course. All right. So the Rickmeister himself. Question: when you worked with the vegans, did you ever see any of them improve their health over time?
No. If I'm honest, I didn't see much of them to be able to say. It was like they didn't go to work. A lot of them were being furloughed a lot of the time. If you're in the US, you might not be familiar with that term, but basically, maybe, I don't know. Basically, it means your employer is paid a subsidy from the government for you taking the time off work. So you're still getting money come in, but you're not working because they had reduced hours, reduced restrictions in shops. Only so many people in certain spaces at certain times. So by default, you need less staff. So effectively, that's what happened with a lot of them. I did see that some of them, it depends what angle. So the ones that did the whole foods diet, they improved the health the most, but they did become very frail. They had a tendency to be very slim, but also not healthy slim. So gaunt, grey looking with respect to them. Then the other ones that did the processed food, vegan diets, vegetarian-based, plant-based diets, they tend to sort of be overweight and inflamed and always ill. That's what I tend to notice, and that's the same across the board. So if I'm honest, I didn't see anyone really thrive, but I worked there for a year or two. It's hard to really say, long-term health outcomes. But from what I've seen, I've not really met vegans that are absolutely great spot of health.
Okay, so I'm going to show this one really quickly because, again, it's not really a question, but it's a beautiful statement. There are some brilliant questions being asked tonight, whether it's nutrition, supplements, protein, body composition, or exercise. This is packed with great advice. So
thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, so next question, all right, is from Dave on the Record. Hello, Dave. How you doing? It's great to meet you. Does it matter what time of day you eat when working out in the morning, as long as you get enough protein within 24 hours?
It's almost like I've answered this before, Thomas.
You probably
I will
have.
say
That's
I
something
have in
we get a
detail.
lot of.
Yeah, I get asked questions like this most days, but I will give a bit of a concise answer. But yeah, I'd recommend looking back in the chat.
Yeah, no.
Maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah,
But,
watch. If you are late coming in, watch definitely watch the
yeah,
replay.
the the cliff notes effectively are try both. Try eating at different times of the day. See what works better for you in terms of how well you sleep, how well you train. If you're full of food before you train, it's not working. You can't train as well. Pie it off. Try just eating afterwards, or have a smaller meal before. The main thing that changes strength progression and body composition outcomes in terms of the gym and feeding times, or food itself, is actually hydration. If you're dehydrated, you will not be able to form as well. So you could have 1,000,000 grams of carbs and fats and proteins in your body, but if that's not coupled with water, you're doomed. The same with salt. If you're somewhere in a hot climate, you've sweated all night, you've not had any drink in the morning, you've gone straight on the treadmill or straight into the gym lifting weights. Bad idea. Ideal situation for a muscle strain. But I would suggest try both. I found personally it's about a 50-50 split between people that benefit from eating food before they train versus people that don't eat food before they train. And in terms of muscle gains, yes, it's mostly or largely dependent on what you consume and get in over a 24-hour period. I might give an example. So say this live stream was about an hour or two later. That'd be well past my bedtime. It means I then have my food afterwards, that my last meal after. So my stomach would be more full, so my sleep quality wouldn't be quite as good. So then what happens basically is when your stomach's still full of energy, sort of for food, all the blood goes to it. All the hormones that come in through the circadian cascade can't activate as fully. Your glutathione levels, which are a detoxification hormone within your body, will decrease, which means your redox balance is impaired, which means if you're not detoxifying through stage 2 liver detoxification, which happens around about 4 or 5 hours into sleep, it basically won't be as effective. And if your liver's not clearing out toxins as effectively, you can't build muscle as effectively because you've got a burden on your body, and it's an inflammatory burden. That's what we call, to quote Professor Bart K, it's a chronic systemic inflammatory overburden of the body if you eat too close to bedtime. So that's something you want to be mindful of. So recovery isn't essentially always a factor of just getting in your food, going to the gym and going to sleep. It's also the quality of everything. So as you go along your journey, you're able to sort of refine each little thing if you want. If you want more results, you refine each thing a little bit further. Now I'm at the point in my bodybuilding career, after 17 years of training, where I have to refine 5 times more than I did 5 years ago for like a fifth of the results. So, it's a law of diminishing returns. So you do have to work harder to get more results as time goes on. But you're asking a good question, but I'd definitely go back in the chat and see what my other answer was there as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right. And Jonathan is giving great information here. So definitely, if you came in late, definitely re-look at the video and see some of the great information that Jonathan's given. So this next few are not really questions, but they are statements. This is from Beautiful I Am Colored. I'm guessing you know. I'm guessing he's from your channel.
Yeah. So Thomas, her name's Evelyn. She has a YouTube channel as well.
Oh, okay.
She's not carnivorous, but she's a healthy eater and advocate of good food. She does oftentimes she does like a live Q&A. She also does a live Q&A when she's doing a workout. So she'll be at home doing her push-ups and her treadmill walks and things. It's actually cool to see. It's inspiring. You think I should be doing that, and you watch it sort of thing. And she's still doing her workouts, talking between sets. It keeps her adherent because then she's engaging with the chat. People are pushing her along, sort of thing. But she's a very motivating individual. She doesn't look a day older than mid-30s, and she's not mid-30s. So
wow. Okay, so these are 2 things that Joe said. All right. Well, great point, Jonathan. I want that quote on a t-shirt. Your exercise is only as good as what you can recover from.
She's right.
That'd be a perfect.
Yeah, that's a direct quote from me. I learned that through Professor Bart K. I knew it in my head already, but I never put 2 and 2 together. When you have a fact, you're like, this is what I do, but you never sort of put it to paper and think, yeah, you can't get that without that. Then we
Right.
sort of had a discussion maybe 2-3 years ago, and we're like, well, actually, yeah, that's definitely the point. And he said something along the same lines, basically. So yeah.
All right. And then she also said subscribe to both channels. So thank you, Joe, for that. I think we both appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And then Kathy B here is saying, I do yoga mixed with Pilates, mixed with weight training with instructor. Do you know with yoga if there is a difference between wearing shoes or not? So
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, effectively, Kathy, if you're wearing shoes, you're creating a miscontact or a poor conduction with the ground. Your proprioception, which is your ability to feel things based on your senses, will be impaired. So what you may find is that the weight of the shoe keeps your foot balanced and still because you're gripped on something. But what teaches your brain through your sensory input for your feet is that, oh, I don't need to turn on these stabilizing muscles. I don't need to activate this. So effectively, you're finding a way to do it better and more safely, but you also creating diminishing returns. So what you might want to try doing is do it without, shoes, basically. That means that your feet will have contact with the ground. You'll be able to stabilize less effectively, but you're able to adapt and overcome that lack of stabilization through the learned experience, the exercise-specific experience of doing different stretches and mobility training within your regime. But if you're doing resistance training, just a caveat, if you're using weights, please always use shoes. I have knocked several dumbbells and barbells and all sorts of things onto my feet, and I have fractured my toes 3 times. So be very careful, please.
Okay. This is the last question and last statement. This is just basically Amy Davis, Rockin' Coach Amy, saying hello to you and me. And she acknowledged that she's going to go back and check things out.
Yeah.
So that's
Amy,
pretty fascinating. And it looks like Evelyn is here. I don't see her. I had to go back, but
Evelyn is I am beautifully colored, I think.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
Beautiful, I am colored. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes more sense then. And
Super chat.
Yay.
I might have a button for that one.
Yeah.
Might work.
You deserve it, She 1999, which beautiful I am colored is appreciate you and sweet Joe. So that is
Thanks
great.
so much.
That is great for you.
That's going to go towards travel to see Joe, I think.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Evelyn. Appreciate that. Thank you.
It's very nice of you, Evelyn. Okay. I don't really see anything else. Let me just unstar this so then that way we clean up.
We got one from Kathy again, I think, talking about feet. It's 9:07 or something 07 p.m. probably.
Oh, I see this
PM.
one here. Makes a lot of sense. Yes, I do without shoes, but lately getting cramps inside of feet. It's not really a question, but it might be something you want to address. I don't know.
Yeah. Your feet are something in modern day society, modern day life, culture that are very sheltered. So, for example, when you're wearing shoes, that's probably quite a lot of the day if you're walking about, if you work in an office, you're out of the house sort of thing. And therefore, your feet have not adapted to the strain, the stability side of standing up without shoes, basically. What I would do is, if you're particularly concerned, have a scan, an x-ray or some sort, if absolutely indicating it. If you do get particular pain with it, it could be that you just need to adapt over time and create more muscle in supporting areas, more strength in supporting areas. So, for example, you may want to watch someone on Instagram and YouTube, I believe Instagram, called Knees Over Toes Guy. What they basically do is teach you little drills, little habits, cues that you can use so you can improve the mobility and strength of your knees and your ankles and your toes and things like that. What it comes down to is just a phased in, transitional, methodical approach into doing what you're doing now with shoes, into taking them off over time. What I would say as well is you may want to add in some sort of calf raise or calf press exercise. It could be that your toes just need to build up a bit more muscle over time. I'm not talking getting fat, muscly toes. I'm just saying use them in a way that you haven't used them before, because it could be that going your tiptoes in shoes is more efficient, easier, more effective. You get more contact with the ground. Maybe that gives you better leverage. But then if you do it without shoes, the side of my feet are sore. Maybe you need to strengthen that area up progressively over time. So that's what I'll be looking at doing personally.
That's cool. And we have another super sticker.
Oh, wow.
This is from Crochet Grandma, $20 super sticker. So thank you very much for that.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, Thomas?
Not really, no. I mean, I'm just kind of like I just kind of, with everybody, I kind of like just listen and go with the flow, you know.
Yeah.
Because most of the questions that I may have usually get answered by you anyway, if that makes any sense, you know.
Yeah, I understand that. I find that with Professor Bart K. When I used to do loads of live streams with him back a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
A question would come up and it'd be like something about bodybuilding. He'd answer it. I'm like, well, fuck, I wanted to answer that. But then it'll be a question about pathophysiology and he leaves it with me. I'm like, I know enough about it, but not to the degree you can answer this question.
I'm not proficient at it, you know. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's just general background info, but not enough to really give someone a prescriptive idea or best practice, you know.
All right. So I generally do these things. I set them for 2 hours, like I've mentioned before to you. And we can still go the whole 2 hours if you want, but I know you sometimes can get a lot of pain and stuff like that. We're at about
20 more minutes.
What was that?
I'm good for 20 more minutes.
20 more? Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. Cool. So if anybody has any more questions to ask, just remember that he's pretty much answered like anything with fasting and what he eats and stuff like that. But still, if you have any other questions about anything,
Thomas, do you want me to ramble for 20 minutes?
Yeah, you can ramble.
Yeah.
If you want to call it rambling.
If you got any questions, just help me. The direction of my channel currently is it's been a bit all over the place. Let's go.
Yeah. Gemma's asking, what do you think of cholesterol numbers? I don't believe in them. Thank you.
Gemma, I think you're a very intelligent individual and you should have a gold star and a sticker, a trophy at home on the wall. Personally, cholesterol isn't numbers. It is a number. Cholesterol is a single ingredient component of a blood mark panel. In regards to lipids, so that includes triglycerides, LDL, HDL, and cholesterol as a wholesome sum of different numbers on a test. I think they'll just be whatever they'll be, and that's a result of the environment around you and the genetics that you have. Of course, they don't really change at all in regards to diet. My cholesterol levels in UK units, for what it's worth, are something like 5.2, which puts me at like high normal, if anything, according to the normative ranges. The ranges don't mean anything, because I know people that have probably lived a very long and fulfilling life of perfect immaculate health that might have had the highest cholesterol levels and vice versa. It seems to have a grey area in terms of what the actual amounts mean. But we do know that the body cannot do anything useful in terms of create hormones without enough cholesterol. So if your cholesterol is low, we got a problem. We got a big problem. But if it's too high, your body just does what it does. Other people will often look at ratios, and I've got ratios that are actually even indexes. So my triglyceride ratio is XYZ. Useless. Load of crap. Rubbish. Nothing. Useless. Turn them off and just ignore them. They may be right about other things, whoever's saying that, but for the large part, no. It's not what the science says. These numbers, I believe, can alter over time, depending on what you're doing. You might find the triglycerides go up when you're losing body fat. When you get to a certain level, maybe they decrease. Doesn't mean that it's a problem because they're that. No, it's just your body's doing different things at different times in response to the environment around it. And I do see many carnivore influencers in our space online. Will say the same thing I say, but then say, I'm worried about my blood lipid panel. And I say, why are you worried if you say this in your videos? Doesn't make any sense. For more information about that, I'd suggest watching videos by Professor Bart K. I'm trained in advanced pathophysiology in regards to human beings. Am I an expert in it? No. I forgot most of the module because I found it useless. What we're taught did not match what is the actual outcome in terms of real life science and real life anecdotes and data that we have from people that follow the carnivore diet. So yeah, that's my take on it. There are a number of values I do recommend looking at: liver, kidney, full blood count, iron levels, B12, magnesium. But a lot of these numbers can change and can swing a lot. I've seen massive swings in my blood markers in the case of a day. So what they can do is provide like a snapshot of what's going in your body at that time, but they may change quite significantly. They don't actually specify whether things are tissue specific. You might have low magnesium levels, low folate levels from your body, but that is only measuring the amounts that are within your blood and not within the tissues in the actual instance. So you can't really look at many numbers. But what we do know is, for example, a high CRP level, an inflammatory marker. Say on my UK units, it was 0 to 5 was normal, so 0 being like nil. Say it was 10, well, that could be bad. That could be a really bad thing. It depends if you have autoimmune disease as well. So basically, they allow you to sort of pinpoint, okay, there might be a problem here. Then the doctors, who have your healthcare practitioner, will then look into it in further detail, and they might find the opposite. It might be a juxtaposition of that case. So one last example before I go on to the next question. I had my EGFR levels checked at the doctor for a standard blood test. One was 54, and one was, I believe, 70, something like that. And that changed, guys, within 1 day. 1 day, 70 to 54. My EGFR. Now, EGFR is an index number involving creatinine and another one I can't remember. I think it's ALT, can't remember. But yeah, it can swing that much. But what they actually did was they gave me the gold standard nuclear trace test, where like a marker is injected into my body, and then they have basically a test to find out how long it takes to go from my kidneys out the other end, basically clear from my body. They actually found that my EGFR levels were 153, which is way above high for athletes, like the most fittest people in the world. I could attribute that to my high protein carnivore diet, which has upregulated the strength and power of my kidneys. Although I do have scarring in my kidneys, that's not necessarily a detriment if they're functioning at high level. So it means basically I had a scar in my kidneys from a immune flare-up or immune disease, or not disease. It was like a immune thing I had about 2017, 18. That wrecked my kidneys and my liver. That gave me a second bout, believe it or not, I don't know how it's possible, of glandular fever. So yeah, basically that's how I got that. But my kidneys function now at a very high level, and that just points to the fact that we look at all these numbers, but they don't mean really sod all for the most part. Now, with that being said, I'm not a healthcare professional, but I seem to know quite a lot because I've trained a lot of my own information with it. Like I've actually read into this stuff in extensive detail for 17 years. One person I would also recommend looking into for blood markers as well is Professor Buckhay and also Coach Stephen Thomas. I collaborate with him sometimes. You'll find him on YouTube. He's got like 50,000 subs, probably the biggest carnivore channel in the country right now in England. He knows his stuff. Come to him for your full panel, everything that you have or can get tested, any symptoms you have, and he'll be able to give you the best kind of response in regards to that. My understanding is limited to what a bodybuilder would need to know, not necessarily someone with various different health issues. So yeah, yeah. There's another question. Shall I get to that one?
Okay, so yeah, so Rocking Coach Amy is asking to add to Juju's question, how reliable, which is Gemmet, in case you didn't know, how reliable do you think CAC score is in regards to heart disease? So, like, how do you feel about the CAC score?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a CAC score is not a completely innocuous test to have. People going around saying, get your coronary artery calcium score done. You'll know for sure then what's in your body. You know, the thing is, there's something called soft plaque and hard plaque. Soft plaque can be mobilized safely. Hard plaque, a bit more of a problem. You can use various different supplements, things, ingredients, low carb, carnivorous diet. Things like nattokinase is a certain enzyme which can help reduce fibrinogen levels and therefore decrease inflammation and improve blood vessel elasticity, which means that your blood flow to your periphery will be greater, basically. So you've got less chance or risk of having a heart attack or heart disease in general. The test is useful, it is effective, it does do what it says on the tin, but it doesn't give you all the information. So I'd probably suggest reading further into that one and approaching Coach Stephen Thomas if you're a bit more unsure. But personally, I'd find it fine if I had an inherent risk or understanding or reason to suspect myself of having a heart disease of some kind or potentially in the future.
Okay. Just mark a couple of things. I'm trying to see if there's like good statements, and some of them are, obviously. So Joe is saying your health journey has been a roller coaster in terms of life and hope, which, yeah, I can agree with that. What are you thankful for, Jonathan?
I'm thankful first and foremost for the carnival community that have supported me, especially over the last year. People like DC, Joe, loads of people in the chat, Feral Grandma, so many names. I don't want to like say all of them and miss out 2 people, but heaps of people supported me. I wouldn't be alive here without them now at all. The fact that I can still create content, share my information, help people sometimes is really, really impactful. The satisfaction I get out of knowing someone's life is just 1% better because I gave them a key piece of information that they might not otherwise have come across based on my experience. Other things I'm grateful for as well, myself for being a stoic bastard. Honestly, you don't get to this point living with something coined as suicide disease without having a bit of balls, basically. So I've been very tenacious with my goals, very objective with my day-to-day life, and I've been quite fortunate to surround myself with people in similar situations to myself, health conditions of various sorts, because I know they're working their ass off. DC, for example, in the chat, DC Rebuilding, he works hard every day just to sort of keep himself mentally sane, fit and healthy. So I think, well, he's doing it. He's been through all that. Why can't I? What's my out? And also I serve the community in the best way I can. Just try and be inspiring where I can. Try and give back as much as I get. I think that's an important key to life, is not so much what you can take from it, but also what you can give back and what you can carry forward. So that's kind of that's what I'm thankful for. And I think I'd be stupid to not be thankful myself, because I have tried to put in the work. It does take time, it does take effort, a lot of reading, a lot of research, but yeah, I'm grateful.
Okay, so the rest are pretty much statements, but so the first one is DC explaining an early marker of heart disease is low libido, which can be due to low cholesterol, low T's, low CO2, and low NO. And then I want to switch it over. We got saying is we all have to find out what works best for our own personal needs. I honestly believe that we are not all the same in regards to what works. I can't argue with that. I mean, we're not really doctors or anything like that, but I think we are different in some way. But how do you feel, Jonathan?
Yeah, I would largely agree in this context, specifically actually saying it. It's more unrelated to what she said completely, but in a way it's kind of relevant. People often say, what diet works for you won't work for me. Well, no, Thomas, eating 430 grams of protein per day probably wouldn't work for you.
No.
Wouldn't for most people.
Oh, absolutely not.
No. But we can say there's principles within our diets that are quite similar. It's just the context is our background. The caveat is you don't go to I don't think you go to the gym 3 times a week and do this. You don't bodybuild. You don't have extreme fat loss goals, in terms of like very low body fat levels. Your day-to-day life, your output, everything's different. But we are 99.9% plus biologically or genetically identical, which means what we need to do is basically the same. However, the environment around us and the genetics we have will change what output we need to do and how we need to change what we take in. It just means the proportions change. That's based on maybe our heritage, maybe our demographic background. Joe, for example, she has a different diet to me slightly, but it's not too different. Then you might have someone from, for example, I don't know, a East African individual. Maybe they did or didn't have access to dairy. Maybe that impacts their ability to create lactase in order to break down the lactose from the dairy that they're taking in. So their diet will be slightly different to us. But we do know at least through archaeological remains, through N15 isotope carbon testing data, is something like 70 to 80% of our diets around the world at various different points of time throughout our human history has come from largely ruminant meat. That other 20 to 30% is based on your demographic, what you have access to. If you live near to the sea, you might have more fish. If you're more inland, maybe you have more eggs. If you have more pastoral genes, perhaps from the northern hemisphere, the Scandinavian regions of the world. Maybe that's more dairy. You know, it's different for everyone in that regard. But in principle, we all need the same thing. It's just the variations and amounts change.
All right. So the next statement is from DC, and I know DC is not really going to ask questions because he knows just as much as you do probably. So it's not really a question for him to
he's
ask.
watching my content. I watch his content. It's like that whenever I collaborate with like Bart,
it's like
Steven,
switch over, yeah.
Anthony. Any of these guys, Sean. It's like we all kind of know what each other's going to say, but we have our main sort of points we focus on. But yeah, I completely agree. He's bang on, of course.
Yeah. So DC is saying an early marker of heart disease can be heart disease, which can be improved with increase in cholesterol, T, CO2, and NO. What does NO stand for, if I may ask? I know it makes me sound a little
nitric oxide. So you need
okay. That
based on the background you have, right. Yeah. So you're you have a gas exchange within your body that compartmentalizes itself in the optimal way to support what you're trying to do each day. That will be based largely upon being human, having lungs. Then also part of it is through the breath work that you do, the inhalation rate, the stress levels that you have, perhaps your diet to some extent, marginally. But the biggest lead we have is through what DC has taught me is for our breath work. So that's something we certainly need to be looking more at. And I think if anyone's out there watching this, women, they're wondering, I've done the carnivore diet, I'm going to the gym, exercising, have a social circle of friends, I'm doing all the stuff, all the health hacks. Well, have you tried breath work? That is the question. And have you done it consistently? And have you, tested markers, objective markers, heart rate variability, cortisol levels, stress levels at various points of time to see if it's effective or not? What you'll find is there's a sugar honey iced tea load of science around breath work, and I suggest people read up on it now. And if not, check up DC's channel.
Mm-hmm. So DC is also saying a low libido can be an early sign of heart disease. This can be improved by, again, CO2 and NO, along with higher cholesterol and T. Okay. So let me I pulled that out. Let me put this off. So just a couple of statements. We have Kathy just up to your channel. Kathy,
thank you very much. Appreciate that.
So I thought you'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And Rick makes one of his jokes. He says, "Heart disease is in my future." I don't think so, Rick. You would have had
nothing statement. That's a BS statement, Rick, and you know it. Half people die of heart disease. So what kind of statement is that? It's nothing.
Yeah.
Come on, Rick, you'll be fine till you're 90.
Rick,
you're just
growing like Rick, You'll
keep growing like Jack and the Beanstalk for all this protein you're taking in, all these animals, and you'll be built with lizards by the end of it.
Okay, so let me just see. All right, so just want to mark that and then mark this. Got it. All right, so
Mike's good. I like Mike. He's a very educated individual.
Yes. Okay, so next one. So an early marker of heart disease is insulin resistance. Yes, I agree. Which can be diagnosed years in advance of development of diabetes. That I definitely agree with. And diabetes is a pre-heart disease. How do you? I don't see anything that
chronic systemic overburden 101. Too much sugar, too much glycation, more foam cells in your arteries, more work by the heart, inappropriate propensity to pump blood around the body effectively. Peripheral tissues don't get the blood supply that they need. Things get damaged, things get harmed along the way. Blood flows decreased, therefore mitochondrial function is decreased. Intestinal permeability could increase because you've not got the capacity to actually deal with the overburden. So yeah, that makes sense. It's pretty straightforward, inflammation, disease, death, effectively.
Okay, so the next one is again from Polish Mike. And it's just a statement, that's how he read it in The Great Cholesterol Myth. So he's telling us where he got his information from. All right, so the next question going up on stage is from Juju Jemmett. What do you think of supplements? I have been told by Dr. Magnesium and D3, by the Dr. Magnesium and D3, K2, B complex, etc. I was going to say it's a weird name, Dr. Magnesium. It sounds
I
like
read it the same way. Yeah. It's commas, punctuation, guys. I know you type these things in, but people like me are a bit slow sometimes. Yeah. One, your doctor shouldn't be making any nutritional recommendations at all, even if it says in a packet. Please consult with your doctor or healthcare professional. They're not trained in nutrition. Maybe 8 years at best. Sorry, 8 hours at best, even out of 4, 5, 6, 7 years of training. So yeah, I think they are allowed to, but I don't think they should, because Ozempic, for example, the amount of people that are on that shouldn't be and not given guidance is absurd. Anyway, story for another day. Magnesium and D3, K2, and B complex. Yes, most carnivores I've spoken to do use a magnesium supplement or a vitamin or multi-mineral supplement of some kind. It is common. It is a norm. The idea that we can just live off beef, fat, eggs, and stuff like that, yeah, probably. But if you notice a benefit from supplements with something, why not take it? The purpose of being a human being is to evolve, adapt, get better, and pass forward our DNA. If we're living a worse life, we're less likely to be able to do that. So think about outcomes, guys, not about theology. I appreciate what people say. Yeah, largely speaking, people can do this, but most representatively, most people do use a supplement of some kind. So there's obviously some benefit. People don't waste money for no reason. People argue against these things and say, I've had these levels tested within my body, and I don't notice that it increases or decreases if I take a supplement. Your body does different things with different supplements, minerals, vitamins all the time. There's no way to know exactly what your body does need. Your body has very clever autoregulatory sensory systems within it, or nutrient sensors, to actually detect what is going in and what is going out of the body and what it's using effectively. What it doesn't use will be excreted for the largest part. What we can control, if we are going to use supplements, is the quality of them. So perhaps using a methylated B complex, more effective, more absorbable, less metabolic drag or byproduct. The other thing is K2. I prefer K2MK4, which is a molecular form of vitamin K2. Basically, it means it's got a shorter duration of action, but higher. There's a word for it. A higher propensity to create more artery or decalcifying the artery power than K2MK7. A lot of studies are done on K2MK7 because the supplement itself is cheaper. So therefore, the brands have more reason to sort of get high yield or profit margin from them. K2MK4 is more expensive, but it is more effective. The dosage of that can vary from anything like 100 micrograms per day up to something like 45 milligrams per day. Magnesium, personally, I like magnesium bisglycinate and magnesium threonate. Magnesium threonate can pass the blood-brain barrier and can be effective for creating mitochondria. It's the only one that can actually pass the blood-brain barrier for enough, so it is a bit more pricey, but it does do more in the body. Useful things like peripheral neuropathy, helps control blood glucose levels, helps create ATP, essential for ATP actually. You can't create ATP without enough magnesium within your body. It is a stored mineral, so you can build up your levels over time. The other one is magnesium bisglycinate, which is a chelated form as well. That is attached, magnesium molecule attached to glycine, which is an amino acid, which can be GABAergic, which means that it increases GABA within the brain and therefore help reduce feelings of anxiety, help improve relaxation. So some people might use it that way. So me, I want to have my energy in the morning before the gym, maybe magnesium threonate. Nighttime, more relaxation, more sleep, magnesium bisglycinate. That's a little primer on those sort of things. But yeah, I think they are helpful. Just be mindful that the more B complex that you take in, the more B3 that you'll need to be able to shuttle in that biochemical pathway. So effectively, you want to get a balanced one. But there isn't really a way to test or find the balanced format that you do need. So it's a trial and error thing. So magnesium, pretty safe. K2, pretty safe. B complex, though, be a bit more mindful. Things like vitamin D as well could be helpful. But, you can get it from the sun or from seafood as well. So, yeah.
Okay. So the next one is from John Together Strong. And this is actually directed to DC, but I also would like to add the inflammation is I'm thinking saying number one cause of heart disease. So he's pretty much saying inflammation.
Inflammation is what causes pretty much everything. Is basically the body has something to deal with. It's too much. inflammation is created as a byproduct. Inflammation will give signals to the body, to the brain, to say, stop doing this, stop feeding me, stop drinking so much water, stop. Your body has a visual or a physical response that you'll be able to subjectively measure, just pretty common sense. If you eat too much food, stop eating. Your body's trying to find ways to decrease what it's doing, whilst also providing a higher, more specific area of the body to sort of say, this is inflamed, there's more blood flow getting to it, improve recovery of this area, but it means it takes away from other areas. So you want body to be at homeostatic equilibrium, but as soon as you start chucking more at it, effectively there's more to deal with. So it's usually a case of subtraction from the body rather than addition. That's why supplements are maybe supplements, all the supplements in the world that can help you might give you plus 5%, but then reducing 25, 30% of or 5% of the crap from your diet might give you 50% reduction in symptoms. So you're better off if you're to think, oh, I'm going to do one thing, I'm going to add stuff or take stuff away. Take stuff away for the most part. That's what's going to give you more results.
Right. Okay. So this is Lorraine Baxter. I'm guessing she's part of your group. Hi from Queensland, Australia. Was just scrolling and caught the start, which is good. Thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate you coming here. And
cheers.
You're always welcome. Let me just hide that. Okay. So the next one is also from somebody from your chat. I can't really figure out how to say it, but hi, folks, and hit
give it a go.
Find
it funny. Give it a go.
But that I just have put that up there because that's a beautiful statement. Hit that like button, people. Like and share if you can. Okay.
Zbigniew Wozniak. His shorthand name or shorter nickname is harder to say than his full name. It's like Zbigniew, but I can't say it. Yeah, he's a long-time supporter of my channel and a great friend. I'm very grateful to have him.
If you have a hard time saying it, don't expect me to say it. Okay. Yeah. So John Together Strong says, it is crazy. The doctors don't check the HS and CRP. Testing more. I basically had to rip their eyes out to get them to do that test on me. They never addressed inflammation.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Because my health, I've had a lot of health scares, problems recently or over the years. I've probably had over 100 blood tests. Gives me a lot of data to look at because they test a lot of things because I have a lot of complex health issues. I actually go out of my way and buy several private blood tests myself. So each year I probably have about 4 private ones. They come to my house or I draw my own blood and send it off in a post. They check the things that I want checked. So the inflammation levels, different perhaps rheumatic markers, some sort of like gut health markers, things like that, things you can test which you can't always get. And each of these test guys does cost a different amount of money to get each of them done. It's not like a 5 panel versus 10 panel. 5 is £5, 10 is £10 or $10. No, some of these tests might cost them like $40 just to do one marker. So that's why they often don't want to do it. And sometimes
and insurance doesn't always cover it either, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a shame.
Okay, so JC Calamity Jane is in the house.
Hello.
Saying hi to Jonathan and Thomas. Hello, JC. How you doing? Oh, it's good to see you. Now, JC just makes a good point. In the world, the world is messed up place, Polish Mike. So he's just making a statement, which is true. The world is a messed up place. I have no argument with that. So Polish Mike's he's making a couple statements here. But I would also particularly blame the people, also because only a small... Oh, you know what? Actually, let me skip to this question and then go back to that one, if that's okay. It's amazing how it takes years for it to develop, and we have tools to predict issues years in advance, and it's the #1 cause of death. But I would also particularly blame the people, also because only a small percentage of the population go to a doctor to get guidelines to prevent issues in the future. They go to a doctor after a fact. So that was Polish Mike's statement. Let me see if there.
Mike's very.
That was the last question, and we definitely passed that 20 minutes. So I didn't want to go any further. I was not going to put any more up on the thing.
That's
just
cool,
because
yeah.
of that fact.
We
So,
provide a lot of value though, Thomas, haven't we? Like, look at that. Load of
yeah.
questions answered. We have a good chat, bit of a laugh.
Yeah,
Been awesome.
we had a great time. So we'll end this right now. And I'm so grateful that you were here, even for the hour and 40 minutes. I mean, you know,
I'm pretty impressed with myself, actually.
I'm pretty
Usually,
impressed too. Like I was,
if
you
the
know, I know
questions
you
get
have,
it's quite stimulating, you know. So
I know you have a hard time. I mean, I know there was a one time that you were actually like Rick, because I joined in, and I remember one time you're so bad with your pain and everything like that that Rick had to take over for one of your shows, you know.
he's
So
done well, yeah. I'm looking at getting a different chair set up. So that my chair right now is everything ups and downs and goes out and stuff, but it's just not comfortable. I'm looking at getting like a big padded sort of like granddad chair, you know, can sit down and.
No, I understand. I mean, I used to have the same problem. I mean, when I was paralyzed, I could not even sit in a wheelchair. I had to lay down in the bed. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. So all right, everybody. So live, love, heal, and for God's sakes, if you don't listen to me, listen to Jonathan, listen to DC, listen to all these guys. Eat the meat.